So for the benefit of those watching this recording, this is Open Source Solutions for the Modern Language Classroom, an ACS Modern Language and Technology webinar. And today we're going to be talking with Dr. Michael F. Dillon, who is the chair of the Department of Modern Foreign Languages at Morehouse College. Michael got his BA at the Universidad San Francisco de Quito and did his graduate work at the University of Alabama. Before coming to Morehouse, he taught at Piedmont College in Georgia, and he specializes in Latin American cinema, linguistics, instructional technology, and Ecuadorian literature. Since coming to Morehouse, he's been working on a lot of projects, including integrating a Chinese language program into their instruction there, working on improvements to their website, and also, and this is the subject of today's talk, using open source software to customize options for learning management systems, Moodle in this case. I believe he has created a Moodle space that we may be able to join for a certain amount of time to experiment with some of the things he's going to show us today. So we'll be asking after his presentation for names of anyone who'd like to participate in that. And I've also asked him, just for our benefit, to include a bit of a definition about what open source software is in his presentation, mostly for my benefit, but perhaps also for yours. So without any further ado, I will turn it over to Michael.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the introduction. And it's a pleasure to be here and to share with you and with the rest of the participants. So today I'm going to talk about open source solutions. Well, we can go to Wikipedia and find out the information about open source, but the main thing about open source is it's free. It's a free license. Nobody can charge you for that. And open source also means that you can access the code. So it's not a closed code. So you can manipulate, change the code, and then part of the open source community is to share what you find. So that is the open source. And there is any software that you can imagine there is an open source solution to. For instance, for Microsoft Office, we have a Open Office. I don't know if anybody is familiar with that software. If you are using Adobe Photoshop, for instance, you may use GIMP and so on. So I would suggest you to just go to Google and find out about open source solutions. Now, something that we are familiar is course management systems. For instance, WebCT, Blackboard, Sakai. So there is an open source solution for that too. So let me start the presentation. So today I'm going to give you a short introduction on Moodle, which is the course management system open source. And then on the second part of the presentation, I'm going to show you in real life how I have been using in my classes. And then, of course, if you have questions, let me know. So Moodle is a funny word, Moodle. So Moodle means Modular Object-Oriented Dynamic Learning Environment. In other words, it's a course management system, CMC, or some people call it LMC, which is a learning management system. You can produce internet-based courses and websites. And it's a global project. It's a global project. Also, Moodle, the term Moodle means the process of lazily meandering through something. As you can see, as January 2014, there are more than 1,300,000 users, sites, I mean, and 65 million users, and 6.8 courses. The founder is Martin Dogiamas. He's from Australia, and he was working with WebCT. And his idea was to make a product that first is open source, and also oriented to the community. Some important things that you need to know about Moodle is over 40 languages, because the Word project, you can find the code in Chinese, in Russian, in Spanish, in English. It has a calendar. There is an implementation and maintenance process. It's quite easy to publish websites and also use modules or plugins. In a way, you can develop your own modules and run through Moodle. Something that is really interesting is, because it's open source, is multi-platform, meaning that if you have a Windows, Mac, Linux, Unix network, you can use the system because it's based on PHP and MySQL. A nice feature is the email authentication, so the users can set up accounts. So what are the reasons of this? Because again, Moodle is another alternative versus Blackboard, WebCT, Sakai. First is open source, like I mentioned. It has an extensive library of modules. If you go to the Moodle site that we're going to go later, I'm going to show you, there's an extensive library of modules. It's highly customized, the interface. You can change the interface. If you know a little bit about CSS or HTML, you will be fine changing. And I'm going to show you the changes I did. Safe and secure. Everything is based on the web. And like I mentioned to you, Martin, the founder, wanted to make a product that is collaborating learning space. Now, that because it's free doesn't mean that you don't have support. I mean, you do have support through forums. You don't pay. There are companies that you can pay and they will give you support, but there is an extensive forum system on Moodle, and even in YouTube and Google. So if you have problems or setting up things on Moodle, you just have to go to the Moodle forums, pop up the question, and maybe in 1 or 2 days somebody's going to answer you. And it has other special features. Now, how can you learn about Moodle? YouTube have an extensive tutorial, plethora video tutorials. There is a lot of documents in Moodle.org, which is the main website. Also, you can browse some books on Google, books.google.com. If you want to pay, we recommend lynda.com. They have two series about Moodle. Also, if you go to Amazon and you type Moodle, and for instance, second language teaching, you will find some books related to Moodle, specifically for foreign languages. If you're teaching math and you type Moodle math, you're going to find books specifically for that area. So Moodle, you can use in your primary school, in your institution, or as a hobby. You can even install Moodle in your computer. There are ways to, because you can implement it in your classes right now as blended learning, face-to-face, and then you can assign activities on exam on Moodle. And there is a lot of activities that I'm going to mention later. So let me go back. There you go. So something that we as a professor, we have problems of creating, of using this course management system is to find the equivalent. In physical classrooms, we have lectures, right? If we create a website, it will be a web page. So always a good idea to first see what you want to do or how you're going to use, then look for the Moodle resource activity that match that use. For instance, handouts. You can create, as you can see on Moodle resources, you can create a database, you can create a website, or even create a database or glossary with your students. What about for class discussions? You can create chat, you can create forums, and wiki. Wiki is an easy way to do website. Office hours, for instance. You can set up times and you can chat with your students. And assignments or assessments, you can give quizzes, documents, other ones. You can do that with Moodle too. So in order to create a class, first you need to set up, you need to see what format you want to use. Social format is oriented in forums, just conversation. Topic format, if you want to follow a book, I would say. Weekly format, if you want to use a calendar for that. And the last two is more advanced, so I'm not going to mention today, but you can integrate with other plugins and packages. The weekly format is the most popular. So let me, instead of reading this, because I'm going to share with that, let me show you. I'm ready to escape. So for instance, so as I mentioned to you, this is the main website. It's Moodle.org. Over here you can download the package and you can play with that in your computer. Now the latest version is 2.6, but one of the most famous version was 1.9. So if you go to 1.9, that is a really good stable version. But if you want to expand and play with the latest version, 2.6 is quite stable. In order to run the Moodle in your computer, you're going to need an extra software, which is MAMP or SAMP. What is that? This program is create an Apache, MySQL, and PHP in your computer. So your computer starts to behave as a server. So then you can run Moodle. As I mentioned to you, they have a plethora of documentation, forums, everything. So this is the when you're installing your computer on the server, this is what you got. And then I'm going to show you how I changed it for Morehouse, for the language classes. So as you can see, I changed the template following the color from our school. So when you click on the class, for instance, this one I'm going to go to my 202 class last semester, you're going to see that on the top you have the header, and you're going to tell you who is using the program, who is logged into the Moodle. On the left, you're going to see your classes and your calendar. On the right, there are some information about the class. So as you can see, you can put syllabus, PDF, you can put PowerPoint presentations, you can give quizzes, exams, and you can even embed a video. For instance, in this case, I was embedding a video from the BBC. So if you can click over here, we're going to take you to the BBC. Now, going back to my class, in order to create resources, you have to click here, turn editing on. If I click over here, you're going to see that says add activity and resources. And that's why it's important that you need to know what you want to do first in order to find the equivalent in Moodle. For instance, assignments, they can upload, the students can upload documents, Microsoft Word documents, PDF documents, so you can create that. Attendance, as a professor, you can put the attendance role in there. Chat, of course, you can chat with them. Choice is kind of like you're asking the student to, maybe you can ask the student, what movie we're going to see next week? You want to see a horror or a comedy? So you can make a choice of that. Databases, you can create the glossaries with your students, like a vocab, for instance, or a dictionary, which is the most complex database. If you don't want to use database, then you can use glossary. You can create a forum with your students. You can create lessons. Lessons is quite good because you start to put PowerPoint presentations, and between the slides, you can ask questions to the students so they can follow the PowerPoint, and between the slides, they have to answer some questions. If they don't answer the question, they can go back, and they have to go back, and they have to repeat again the PowerPoint. Something that I'm going to talk more in detail is quizzes, assessment, and that is the way that we're using right now in Morehouse. We're going to use the Moodle to assess our classes. And then we have surveys and wiki and workshops. Resources. For resources, you can put PDF files, you can create folders, make URLs and pages. So that is what I want to show you right now. If you have questions, let me know so I can show you, or we are interested in things, I can show you more about that. Let me go back to my PowerPoint presentation. So for the way that we're using in quizzes, we have calculated types questions like maybe math, description, so you can ask an essay. Essay is when you ask an open question and they have to write matching, which is a multiple choice. Let me see what happened here. There you go. Embedded closed questions, multiple choice, short answer, numerical, and true and false. Now, you don't have to know a lot in order to make questions, in order to create quizzes. And by the way, also you can import quizzes from previous other course management systems like WebCT, Course Chat Manager, Diploma, ExamView. And something that maybe you're going to be interested to know is about the AKIN format. In the AKIN format, the only thing that you need to do is you take a Microsoft Word document and you start to type this way. You make the question and then you put A, Guayaquil, B, Lima, C, Cuenca, and then you put answer D. And you do all these questions in Microsoft Word. And then you can go and import that on Moodle, and you don't have to do anything else. So let me show you one of the quizzes for my class. Let me see. Taking a little bit time. Okay. Okay. Let me find the exam. Okay, let me see. I want to show you my second class, but I don't want to hide the information from my students so everybody can see. Yeah. There you go. Okay, so as you can see in this exam, in this exam, as you can see, we have a reading section, and they have to choose everything that is red is wrong, everything that is green is correct. In this one, they need to complete these sentences, and you have the questions, and they have to say true and false in this one. This one is filling the blanks. In this one, they have to conjugate verbs. So everything that you do in a paper exam, you can do in the computer. So what is the beauty of this? I mean, you can do in the computer, And then if you have a problem, you can edit the answer. Let's suppose that all the students make the same mistakes. So you can go here, correct that, or give partial credit, and when you regrade, it will regrade all the students. So that is the way that we're using right now with my students, is taking the grades. Also, another excellent, I don't know where, there you go. So another really nice characteristic feature of Moodle is you can do a grade report. For instance, in this case, they are putting for me, so it's based on your syllabus. You can have the exams, the workbooks, the activities, the final project, the quizzes, the attendance, participation, and then at the end of the report, they can see all the grades during the whole semester. So that's the way that we are doing in this on Moodle. So let me go back to, I don't know if, Amanda, can you tell me if we have some questions, because I don't want to.
Sure. I would guess I would start by inviting everybody out there to type any questions that they may have in the chat box. Michael, did you have more, or are you ready to start taking questions?
No, my idea was to talk 30 minutes, 35 minutes, and then I can show you more on what I have on the screen, or explore the interface.
Okay. Well, I guess, again, I'll invite everybody else out there who may have questions. You know, I'm interested, for one, to know if anybody out there is using Moodle right now and what their experience has been. But I have a couple of questions for Michael, too, just for myself. You've shown us so many interesting things that you can do with Moodle. I think one question I would have, actually it's sort of a two-parter, it would be, number one, what would you say is the pedagogical value of using all these features in Moodle? And number two, what kind of benefits does it have for the department as a whole? So I guess I'm asking about benefits to individual classes as well as benefits to the department.
Well, let me go back here. The benefit for the department is you are using you own the data. You control the information. Sometimes we're working with publishers, and they do have an excellent interface, and you can put all the grades, and they have to do all the activities. But there is no way to back up that information. Meanwhile, if you are using Moodle, you have the data. You can download your information, and then you can retrieve that information anytime. So you're not depending on external sites. Now, it's really easy to set up the Moodle. I mean, you don't have to know a lot about computers in order to set up. If you go and talk with your IT department, the only thing that you need to ask them is to install Moodle, or even install just MySQL. MySQL is a database. Just ask them to install a MySQL, and if you have a space on the website from your university, you can upload and install Moodle. Now, maintenance, maybe you would say, wait, I have to maintain that. Because it's an open source solution, and there is a lot of users using this, they are quite stable. I mean, it is hard to crash the system. So that will be one of the advantages of using Moodle. For the department, what we're doing right now, as you can see, right now, last semester I was using it for these two classes. And the idea of the department is to create classes for assessment. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a class that is going to assess all 100 students, all 100 level students, another one that is going to assess all 200 level students in our languages. So when they go here, they're going to take a multiple choice fill in the blank exam. So in that way we are going to have data and we're going to assess our students. So that's the way that we're going to be using right now. Of course, the faculty are welcome to create their own classes here too. But that is the most useful tool, because sometimes when you have Blackboard or WebCity, it is hard to ask the administration or to ask your school to create just one class and put all the students from 100 level, all the students from 200 level, and then you need to create the test. Over here is they just have to go to this website, they have to use their Morehouse email account, and that's it. They just log in, you can give them a password to the test, and they have to take the test.
So it sounds like it really streamlines things for folks in your department, and also when it comes to big departmental-wide assessments. That's great. Another question I would have would just be, how do you think students in individual courses, oh, and I see another question that's come from Erica, so we'll pause for that too, but I'll just finish since I started. How do students in individual courses respond to using Moodle? Do they seem to find it pretty easy to use, or do they have problems figuring it out?
Our students, because they are millennials and they like technology and websites, they feel comfortable sitting in front of a computer rather than reading, I would say, or doing other activities. So what I do the first day of class is I show them the interface. I told them that on the top they're going to see the menu. In the middle they're going to see the week of each week of our classes, and each week is going to have the activities of things that we're going to do. On the left they're going to be able to see the grades. So it's quite intuitive, the interface. They really love the ability to see all the grades instantly. I mean, they can even see the grade when they submit the quiz or the exam. After maybe 30 minutes, they can go back and see all the exam with all the responses and the feedback, so they can see what things they missed. Because again, like I show you, let me go back again. They have the green color and yellow and red, so they can say, oh, okay, I made that mistake. Oh, and now I have to remove that. And because they are reviewing with you, sometimes as a professor, maybe I made a mistake. So they say, Dr. Dillon, can you give me partial credit in this question? And then you can go back and correct the code, correct that, and regrade to everybody. So you know that for next semester, when you are using the same code or the same question, is more polished, because you are improving I would say the answer data for that exam.
Very good. Very good. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, I see there's a couple of really interesting questions in the chat box now, and I guess I'll start with Erica's. Erica, writing from Southwestern University, wants to know what forms of collaboration across campuses you could envision with Moodle-based assessments. Is that something that you've thought about, a way to go even beyond all the good work that you're doing in the department, or what could you imagine?
Yeah, I mean, again, in my previous institution, they start to use Moodle to create no classes, but to create a place where departments can share and deposit their files. So you can use for other activities, I would say. So it doesn't have to be, like I mentioned, as I show you in my PowerPoint presentation, it can be through social, topic, calendar. So you can choose the setting for your class. So with that in mind, you can create a class saying, for instance, languages for ACU. So over there, you can have topics, and you can have multiple professors or teachers, so they can go and add information over there. So it's quite easy to do that.
That's great.
So yes, that will be something that it will be feasible to do it. I also, Nancy is asking about Blackboard.
Oh, yes.
Of course, Blackboard and WebCity, which is the same, is getting expensive. I mean, it's quite expensive to use. And that's why people are switching to other open source solutions. Another open source solution which is excellent is Canvas. Canvas is an open source solution, but they have it's an open source solution, but you still have to pay some license for that. So it's kind of a blend between open source and free source. So open source, Canvas is an extremely well course management system. But if you really want to have something really free and open, is Moodle. Right now, Spellman College, they switched from Blackboard to Moodle. So they're using Moodle. This is their second year, if I'm not mistaken, using Moodle. So you're saving a lot of money, because the only thing that you need to do is to buy a server, to rent a server, or buy a website, and ask the IT to back up every week, and that's it. You don't have to worry about the rest.
Well, so a related question to that is Moodle, obviously, is what you're using in your department. Is that the learning management system that's used elsewhere at Morehouse?
Morehouse right now is using Blackboard.
Using Blackboard.
But I decided to create Moodle because for me it's easy to do the assessment project that I mentioned to you, because I'm going to own the data and I can analyze the data. Let me show you. Let me go back. I'm going to hide my student's name. So let me see if I can.
While you're bringing that up, I'll just say one of the reasons I was wondering is if it has been difficult at all for others in your department to learn to use Moodle, and how much of the tech support you yourself have had to provide, or have you been able to rely on your IT department to kind of help you with this? Because I could see that being one of the problems for an individual or even a department starting to use Moodle in a campus that uses another LMS primarily.
Yeah. Well, just show you what you can see on the screen. This is the question from, and I can see how they did per question, and I can analyze. So that
great.
is a lot of information that for SACs and accreditation organizations, they want to have data. So I can see, okay, my students are failing in present tense or past tense. Oh, this is so. I can go back and review. So the freedom of manipulate data is what the beauty of Moodle. Going back with your question, if you go to YouTube, let's suppose, I mean, you ask your IT department to create Moodle. And then in YouTube, you put Moodle. As you can see, there is more than 190,000 videos about Moodle. So if you want to say Moodle, how to make a quiz, you're going to have 44,000 videos about how to make a quiz. So it is hard to compete with that kind of support, I would say, because it's the same material. And they are excellent. I mean, they can give you a lot of ideas. Also, like I mentioned to you, if you want to buy something more formal, or if you have a more formal training, you can use lynda.com. And if you go to Moodle, you go to the essential trainings, and you follow the training, and at the end of the training, they're going to give you a certificate for that. So it's not really hard to use. And if you don't know something, you just go to YouTube. or lynda.com, and then you play with that. Something that I do for that, answering also your question, is what I do is I create a sandbox. I create a class for my faculty members. And I gave them the access as a teacher, and then I create a dummy student, a fake student. So they can destroy the class. They can do whatever they want. So they cannot, so they shouldn't be worried about grades and other things. So they can play with that. Also, what I do sometimes, because I used to be the coordinator in my previous job for Moodle, what I used to do that is to create the classes for faculty and then to put a dummy student there. So they can go, log in as a student and see the activities of how the students are doing in the Moodle class.
Mm-hmm.
So that is another way to do it.
Okay. Well, I see that there's a great question from Ian at Center, who said that at Center they were using WebCT until about 4 years ago, have switched to Moodle since that time. And he seems to have found it, fine, although maybe a little less open to customization. But he really wanted to know more about some of the interactive features like chat for office hours, glossaries, which I noticed was one of the features you could use. So have you had any experience with those? If so, how are you using them? How could you imagine using them?
The chat room, last summer, I taught a Spanish class online, 100% online. And we had the chat room inside of Moodle. And it was quite good. Now, I'm going to go, like I mentioned on the presentation, because it's open, there is a lot of plugins for Moodle. And if you go to, there is one software that is called, if I'm not mistaken, is Big Blue Button. This is, and also this is, if I'm not mistaken, this is an open source solution too. So Big Blue Button, as you can see, is similar of the Adobe Connect, but for Moodle, and if I'm not mistaken, it's free. Or the price is really, really, you see there is open source license too. So for interactions, Blue Button does an excellent job of doing that. And again, because you can install Moodle in your computer, so you don't need to have a website. You can install Moodle in your computer. You can play with all these tools before your class, so you can make sure that it's going to work with that. Glossaries, I did use glossary for one of my linguistic classes, and it did extremely well, because I put a glossary over here, and each student has to help me to create this glossary for all these terms during the whole semesters, and they can go back and add and correct the glossary. So far I'm quite happy with Moodle. I mean, I haven't seen anything hard to learn or understand in Moodle. More important than that is, like I mentioned in my PowerPoint, is to envision how you're going to use that. Let's suppose that you're thinking to do like a presentation, then you're going to use maybe the lesson tool. If you want to make a discussion, then use the forum. If you want to make a collaborative experience, maybe you can use a wiki page where everybody can have access to and create that. So I can create a wiki page, as you can see, and I can put the name, test. And as you can see, every single site has this question mark. So if you click over there, it's going to tell you more about the wiki. And then I can put first name, and then save and display. And you can say HTML or what version you want to use or how easy you want to use. And there you go. you can use, and the student can use, and you have the history and the map and the file. And if you have questions about this page, then you just click over here and it's going to tell you more about Moodle and about the page.
Okay. Well, here's kind of a follow-up for that, and this is really more my question than Ian's, I guess, but with the interactive tools, you create these opportunities for your students to use them and to learn from them. Do you find that just creating them and putting them out there is enough to get students to use them, or do you have to put, say, certain, what's the word I'm looking for? Do you have to structure your syllabus in such a way that there are requirements to use the interactive tools in order to get students to really use them?
Yes, the first thing that you need to, well, besides talking with the IT department, you need to talk with to the register and get the names of the students and the email accounts so you can add those students to your class. After that, they know that in order to see the grade, they have to go to and use Moodle. So that everybody's going to use because they want to see the grades. Something that I do put in the beginning of the semester, for instance, is the syllabus and the participation. So they know how they're doing in this class. So they go and log in every week about participation and syllabus. I also mention to my students that if I'm not in class, I don't know, for X, Y, Z reason, the first thing that they need to do is go to Moodle. Maybe I couldn't be in class, and they can go and they will see what to do for that week, for instance. So it's a good way to connect with the students. And let me show you, if you go to my profile, on my profile you can change you can put your picture, you can put information about you, you can chat with, you can send messages with other users. So they do enjoy that. They do enjoy to customize that like a Facebook page, I would say. So, and again, I require them to go and log into my classes. So, but I haven't had any complaint. Most of the time, people are really prone to use technology. There are some few students who want to take for instance, a paper test. But you show them that it's the same material. You show them, look, this is the same material. You're welcome to take the paper test, but it's going to take me 3 days to correct, or you can take right now, and in 30 minutes you know your grade. And 9 out of 10 people, they choose the computer.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
So another question that just sort of occurs to me, and I'm mindful here that we're about 10 minutes away from the hour, so I don't want to compress anything else you might have wanted to share with us, but just a question about limitations in terms of the amount of information you can put on one of these Moodle sites. Is this one of these things? One question I guess I have would be, where is it hosted, and is there an amount of information that you can't exceed before you have to start paying a fee for it, or what?
No. Moodle is free. There is no limitation. The limitation is your server, your space in the server. But now most of the servers that you have, for instance, let me find my other website. For instance, let me see if I can, there you go. This is, as you can see on the top of the URL, is pisaetus.com. That is a website that I pay. I pay like $60 per year, and I have unlimited space. So I can put over here and test things for me. So, I mean, and if the server is not running, then you complain with the provider, and that's it. So there's no limitation for that.
Okay.
Uh, just to show you a little the site administration. Right now I'm running this website. Let me see right now. You can see it's low. uh, but it's really easy to change the templates. You see, I can go to themes, uh, theme selector. I have to wait a little bit. And then I can change the theme. Say I can use this one for instance. And it will change the thing. And again, you have the security, the IP blockers. I mean, I don't want to explain technical things, but there's a lot of things that you can do, and it's highly customized. And again, you don't need to know everything because on YouTube and on Moodle, if you click over here, it's gonna take you to the Moodle website, and you can read more about that. Now, maybe you're worried about the accounts, how many users you can have. In my previous job, they have more than 3,000 users, more than 4,000 users, which is for mid-sized college is perfect. I mean, wow. So there's no limitation for that. And again, it's free. And again, Piedmont College has been using Moodle for more than 2 years without any problem. The Spelman College just switches from Blackboard to Moodle. So there is a lot of potential here. And it's the true open source. Again, Canvas is an excellent website, excellent course management system. But in Canvas, you do have to pay some license. But on Moodle, you don't have to pay.
Erica has asked another really good question, I think, which is that she wonders if student users ever register concerns about honor code or academic honesty violations when working with Moodle.
For instance, for my quizzes, when they take the quizzes, we go as a class, we go to the computer lab, and I'm proctoring the exam. Now, the exam, in order to log into the exam, they need a password for me. I have to give them a password, and the exam is only open from 9 to 10 or 10 to 12. So you can give them time for the exam, for the test. So if you give them time, for instance, if you make an exam that is decided to be taken in 50 minutes and you give them 1 hour, for instance, or 1 hour 50 minutes, and they have to use the password. And you can also tell Moodle to change the order of the questions and answers too. So it is hard to cheat. Even in the computer lab, because it's the same test, but each student is going to have a different order of the questions. So, yeah.
That's interesting. Okay. So you have to...
And of course, you have to remind them that this is in my syllabus, what I do in my syllabus, I mentioned that using translator software or Google Translator is cheating. And if I find out that, they will fail my class.
Well, that sounds good. It sounds like it just requires a little bit of extra management.
Yeah.
Well, we're pretty close to the top of the hour, so unless there are any further questions out there, I'll give you a minute to punch them in. I'll share with everyone who's there, as I promised I would before, 2 links now in the chat box. The first going to our blended learning program and the second going to our faculty advancement program. Again, it's early. We're not really taking questions until, pre-proposals until September 11th of next semester. But if you'd like to go ahead and look at the guidelines, we are really excited about bringing our language faculty into these programs. Had some great projects come out of them so far, and we're hoping for more. So I encourage you to follow those links and learn a little bit more about how we can support the work you're doing. And I'd like to say a big thank you to Michael for this really interesting kind of tour of Moodle and the work that you're doing with it. I think you've given us a lot to think about, and we really appreciate your time.
No, thank you. And also, if some of you want to play with Moodle, I create this website. So later today, I'm going to send an email to Amanda with some user IDs and passwords. So you are welcome to go here and play with the system, because the only way to learn a system is just to go there and play, I would say.
I think
So
that's very true.
and I'm gonna post Moodle for at least a month. So you're welcome to utilize and even try to crash the system if you can. And I'm sure that it's gonna be hard to do that.
That's great. Well, thanks very much for taking the time to set that up, and I'll be sure to pass it on to the group. And we'll get the recording of this webinar with all relevant student information blurred out just as soon as we can. We'll get it up to YouTube, and I'll pass that along too in case anybody wants to share this with their departments. And thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you for having me.
All right, everybody, have a good afternoon. Happy teaching.
Happy teaching. Take care, Amanda. I will see you later today.
Okay, sounds great. Thanks.